All right, so my life at 16. Guys, I'm going to be very candid with you. I'm going to give you some real details about what my life was like at 16 and 17, because I want you guys to understand really who it was that God chose to save. When He started calling me to Him, I I just I want you guys to understand that I was not a good person. God doesn't need to heal people that aren't sick. God was sent to seek and save that which is lost, and I was lost. Okay, so let me paint you a picture of what my life was like at 16. I would wake up in the morning, and the very first thing that I would do before I started my day was I would get stoned. I would pack my pipe and I would get stoned very first thing, and then I would eat, and then I would start my day. And the rest of my day consisted of me going over to my friend's house, and the first thing that he and I would do would be to get stoned again. And then we would spend the rest of the day looking for drugs, taking drugs, and really doing nothing God glorifying with our lives at all. At night, we would creep around the neighborhood and check for unlocked car doors, and we used to take whatever was inside that we thought might have any kind of value whatsoever, and then the next day we would take that to a pawn shop, pawn it, and then the money that we would get from that was spent to buy more drugs. There was a time when I had run away from home and I was living in my car. Just a pathetic excuse for a human being. And I pray that your life right now doesn't sound like that. My guess is that there are at least one or two of you in the room right now that can relate to the things that I'm talking about. And if that's you, I want you to recognize that it's not too late. God is there watching you right now and is ready to start calling your name just in the same way that He called mine. Okay, I'll get to more of that later. In 1998, I would have been 18. God started calling me out of that situation. Over the next 8 years, from 1998 to 2006, God had two things that He was doing in my life. The first thing that He spent several years doing was that He started removing the negative, sinful influences that were in my life. He started taking the people that I was hanging around with and kind of removing them, or removing me from them instead of them from me. So not only was He removing the sinful people that I was around, but He was removing the sinful circumstances that I was always in because of those people. And He spent several years doing that. Then once He had gotten rid of, I guess what He thought was enough, or maybe all of those negative, sinful influences, God switched plans. And then He spent the next few years, all the way up to 2006, introducing into my life positive, godly influences. People that were actually Christians, not just fake Christians like I was. People that were actually Christian. And who cared about me and loved the Lord and wanted to see me, they wanted to see me saved. And I can tell you those people prayed for me, and they cared very deeply about me. So God started putting in people in my life and circumstances in my life that ultimately would lead right to Him. And it's because of that that I know God is so kind. The Bible says it over and over and over again, that God is just love. God is loving kindness and patience and mercy and goodness. And the evidence of that is my life, is that I was a scumbag, and God reached down and started whispering in my ear very quietly at first. This is not the right place for you, Baron. These are not the right people for you. I want you to go in a different direction. This is the right direction. These are the right people. These are good circumstances. Instead of just allowing me to, instead of allowing me to die, instead of looking down and saying, okay, that's it, right now. I'm taking your life, and you will stand before me in judgment. Instead of doing that, God was so kind and so patient that he just kind of gently led me in the right direction over a period of 8 years. Flash forward 8 years, 2006. My wife and I are living in Plano, Texas, and her family is going to church every single Sunday. And so they invite both of us to come along. At first, Megan starts going. And she's the only one out of me and her that are going. And several months go by where she's going with her family. She's inviting me to come along, and I just kind of keep turning it down. No, I'm not really interested in that right now. Finally, I give in and I go, and then it wasn't bad. It was a good church service, and then I went the next week, and I kept going for several more months. So now you've got me in a church with a wife who wants to be there, family who cares about me and wants me there, and a pastor preaching about God. It's perfect circumstances for somebody to get saved. So June of 2006, I gave my life to the Lord. I recognized all the ways that I had broken his laws. You take the 10 commandments, you put them in front of you, and you figure out which one of those you've broken. If you're like me, you've broken probably all 10 of them hundreds of times over.